Hello everybody and welcome to Backbedroom Art. So you might recognise me from Life of Paul, my other channel, and a lot of you on there have loved the resin scratches I made, so things like this. So you use these when we scratch off the scratch cards, but there's loads of other resin stuff that I've made and a lot of you have expressed an interest in how I make them so that you can make them yourself. So what I've done is I've done you a video where you can follow the process, make them yourself, and hopefully go on to make other bigger, better things as well. Now I'm going to be making lots of other things as well on this channel, so it's primarily going to be an art channel, but there's going to be obviously stuff on there that you guys create as well. So please let me know what you've been up to art wise, because I am a big fan of anything arty, hence my new channel, Backbedroom Art. I'm really looking forward to this. It takes a lot longer to make the videos for this channel, so I'm not going to be able to do them as fast as I do for the scratch card channel, but I'm hoping to get them up every week, at least one, hopefully two. So yeah, if you're new to the channel, which you should be because I've only just done this video, it's the first one, then please hit that subscribe button. As you know, the more subscribers I get, the faster the channel grows and the more I can put out there on here as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys make. And if you do make some scratches or some resin art after watching this, please send me some pictures in. I'd love to do like a little montage and add it to a video as well. Just like my other channel, I want this to be community based, not just me going, this is what I do, this is what I do. So make sure you send your stuff in as well. Keep it all coming. It's quite exciting. I'm looking forward to this. So also in the comment section, please let me know what you think to the video. It was a hard one for me to do because again, it's right out of my comfort zone, but that's what you're supposed to do, isn't it? Stretch yourself and you learn. So this channel will evolve and it will grow and get better, just like my other channel did. So here we go. Here's my first video. Hope you enjoy. So here it is. This is the magic behind the scenes. This is where I do most of my resin stuff. It's in my spare bedroom. And I say spare bedroom, it's like all spare bedrooms. It's a tiny little box room. But I keep all my nicks and knacks in here and all my bits for doing resin. One of the main reasons I do it, and I'll show you here as I pan up, window. I cannot emphasize this enough. Make sure whenever you do any of this that you are in a well ventilated area. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open this window, and I can't stress this enough. You may not smell the fumes, but trust me, they are there. Right, so let's talk through the basics really, what the things that you're going to need, because if you're going to make resin, it makes sense. You're going to need some resin. This is what I'm using at the moment, and I'll leave a link in the description, but it's two parts. You've got part A, which is the resin itself, and then the hardener. Be very careful to read the instructions with whatever resin you get. Some are mixed differently to others. This is a very simple one, which I like about it. It's 1 part A to 1 part B. And what it means by that is if I was to do 10 ounces of this, I'd need 10 ounces of that. Or 10 grams of this, 10 grams of that. 10 millimeters of that. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's got to be equal parts. And that's simple for me. I do like simple. So I went and got this one. Check the instructions. I would say this though, if one of the bottles is massive, it's twice the size of that one, you can probably guarantee it's going to be 2 parts of this to 1 part of that. So that would be 100 of this and 50 of that. Always read the instructions. But like I said, this one is a nice simple one. It sets really nicely. It's relatively, it's not expensive. It's relatively, I don't want to say cheap because resin is never cheap, but that's the one I use. Another thing you're going to need is obviously a mold. So as you can see, I've got my little Pac-Man one here, and you can see where I produced some before. I've got snowflakes as well. I've got ones where I can make teddy bears. I've got loads of different molds, and the ones that everybody seems to love, my little scratchers. So there you go. So you just produce them and pop them out of the rolls, and you can use the mold again. And that's the great thing about these molds. Most of them are ice cube trays, or they are for cake decorations. So these snowflakes ones are for cake decoration. So you can find loads of different ones, but you just want some sort of mold to pour the resin into. So get your resin, get your molds, and you're part of the way there. There's still more stuff you need though. Let's have a look at what else you're going to need. Plastic cups. Get these little disposable ones. You know the ones you get at parties? You get like the overwarm beer or the overwarm Coca-Cola in. Get a load of these. I got these off Amazon. In fact, I get most of my stuff from Amazon. You need this to mix up the resin in. And if you use a normal cup, and I'll show you what happens after you've used one of them. Once you've mixed up your resin, look at that. You'll always end up with stuff at the bottom of it. So if you're using your everyday glasses, ruined. You're not going to be able to use it for drinking out of. So make sure you get loads of these little disposable plastic cups. And you can see now I've got a little stirrer. This one had run its course. I'd used it so many times now. It was no good for, not fit for purpose. But you need something to stir with. Lollipop sticks, they're perfectly fine, or you can get little plastic ones which you can keep reusing. But whatever you do, make sure you get a stirrer, because don't again start using cutlery at the drawer. So plastic cups, some sort of stirrer to go with it for mixing up the resin. Now you can mix up the resin just barehanded, but not advisable. You get it on your hands, it's very greasy and it takes a while to clean off. So get yourself some gloves, and yeah, 10 a penny. You can get loads of gloves from everywhere. It's easy to clean up afterwards, isn't it? You'll also notice I've got this green thing on the table. It doesn't have to be this. It could be newspaper. It could be plastic sheeting. Make sure you got something on the table so that you don't damage your work surface. Because once this stuff sets, it's a pain to get off. I mean, I'll show you. Look. So here's a bit here that's stuck on here. It's on for good. And if that was Grand's antique dining table, yeah, it wouldn't be best pleased. So make sure you got a nice little surface on there. Also, what is very useful is we talked about the resin. Make sure you get some digital scales as well, because if I want to measure up what I'm mixing, making sure I've got the right amounts, I need something that I can measure on. So make sure you get yourself some scales. Get a decent ones as well, because it's very important you get the mix 100% correct. Get it wrong and it won't set properly. And when it don't set properly, it's a lot of time wasted. It's quite horrible. I think this one here is a good example. Though it bends. It bends like that. So make sure you get a decent pair of scales, otherwise your resin is going to end up like my little coin here, which is useless, rather than something that is solid. All right, so very important you get a decent pair of scales. I'll leave a link as well in the description to the one I got. You don't have to go for the ones I did, but it's what I did. And because I know a lot of you will be interested in this, we're not always after making clear ones, you can colour the resin as well. And this is what I use. It's an actual resin dye. Be careful when you add it though. If you add too much, it can alter the mix. So when I said it's 50% of that, 50% of that, if you add a load of the dye, it can put the mix off and it ends up with bendy resin. So be very careful with it. But it does have some spectacular effects, doesn't it? I mean, I've got a skull here which I coloured, tried to make bone colour. It looks all right, doesn't it? Obviously pink there, blue, sort of like bluey ones is there. You can make see-through ones. How cool is that? And if you're very clever, you can make a resin piece in one colour and then set it in clear resin and then do something like this. So the dye is very useful. I add scratchings from scratch cards to them as well to make the sort of scratch card effect that I do. Also, if you are so inclined, you can buy glitters and things like that you can add. Make sure you get really fine glitter though, because what I found is if you add it to the mold and it's heavy, it will sink to the bottom. So if you want a mix of it all sort of spread evenly all around the thing, make sure you get something that's really fine. So that's pretty much everything you need. There is one more thing though that is a useful to have, and it's a USB mug heater, and I'll explain why that's useful as I go through, because it's easier to show it in action than it is to try and explain it with words. So yeah, so once you've got everything ready and you've got everything you need, and also you've set yourself a bit of time, because it's not a quick thing, so once you've set yourself half hour away of time, you can get a mix in. So shall I show you how I make something? Of course, that's what you're here for, isn't it? Here we go. Let's make a resin mold. So safety first, got my gloves on and I got my plastic cup. Put it on the scales, and obviously set the scales to 0. Depending on how much you want to make, depends how much you're going to pour. But remember, it's 50 and 50 of each. So if I only want to make a few things, I don't want to be adding too much in. So what I'm going to go for, let's make sure that is definitely zeroed. Oh, one last thing I should have mentioned is make sure you got a flat surface for all this. Last thing you want to do is mix it up and it all goes sort of at an angle. So I'm going to just pour in some of A, and it is 1:1, so it's going to be equal amounts. So watching the scales carefully, I'm going to bring it to a stop at 20. I think that'll do me for this. Oops, on 19. Keep it dribbling. There we go. There's 20. Okay. So now we're going to put the lid back on. And now we're going to mix up 20 of B. So I'm going to reset the scales back to 0. Take the lid off. Good idea, guys, as well, to wear clothes that you don't mind sacrificing to the resin, because it can get a bit messy, this. So 20. And I'm watching very carefully here because I do not want to go over. It's best to stop pouring before you hit the number, because it does dribble out for a bit longer. Oh. Okay, I'm going to stop there because it is pretty much 50-50. I think if I try to get 20, it'll go over. It's right on the cusp. So I've got 50% of one and 50% of the other. So now it's ready to mix. So let's get stirring. Okay, so I'm now going to stir it up. And the secret to stirring is don't go too fast. If you go fast, you end up with bubbles. And if you've ever mixed resin and then poured it in a mold and then seen all the lovely little bubbles, it's because you mixed it too fast. And also make sure you get it thoroughly mixed. Get it around the edges of the cup, get in any crevices that might be at the bottom, go along the bottom, keep stirring. 5 minutes is pretty much how long you want to do it for. So I'm just going to keep stirring for 5 minutes. I'm not going to film it for 5 minutes, but you can see how I'm stirring, nice and gentle. If you go like that, and I'm going to stop doing it already. As soon as I start doing it, I've got bubbles. I don't know if you can see any of those bubbles at the bottom there. But yeah, try and do it slowly and gently, making sure everything is mixed. Now I'm going to speed up. 5 minutes will have passed when you see the camera slow down. Okay, so I think that'll do. I've finished stirring for 5 minutes. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to show you all the bubbles in a second. So you can see all those bubbles at the bottom in the resin? That was created by the mixing that I've done. Now, you do not want those bubbles in your resin because you want it to be clear then. You want to be able to behold the beauty of your resin thing without having loads of bubbles in it. Now, there's two ways that you can get rid of the bubbles. One is just to let time take its course and let them rise, because the bubbles will rise to the surface and pop. But that takes a time. That takes a little while. And another tip for you, and I can't strongly advise this, resin works better in a warm room. So if you're doing this and it's -2 outside and the room is chilly as hell and you've got like jumper and loads of layers on, this resin is going to take a long time to cure, and you're going to get bubbles, you're going to get defects in it. Best thing to do is have a nice warm room. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this resin up. I'm going to use that mug heater that I showed you earlier on to heat this up, because the heat will get rid of the bubbles super quick. So I'm going to set it up now and then you're going to see it in action. So I'm using a lovely little elephant heat mug thing. I don't know the correct name for it, but yeah, it keeps your cup of tea warm. And the reason you're using it, again, like I said, is to get rid of these bubbles. So I'm going to put the resin on there and I'll zoom in close so you can see the bubbles. Oh, let's come up a little bit. So that's what we're trying to get rid of, those bubbles at the bottom. Can you see that clearly enough? Those bubbles are not what we want in our final resin mold. So leaving it on here will speed up the process where we get rid of the bubbles, and they'll start rising to the top and they'll start popping. And over time, you'll get rid of the majority of the bubbles. A lot of the bubbles that are left will just go during the curing process, because the resin will heat up. That's part of the process. That's how it actually goes hard. But it's nice to give it a good head start by warming it up naturally. I say naturally on this this heater, And yeah, rather than watch bubbles popping, which isn't the most interesting thing, I'll just leave it for a few minutes. And that is one other thing I'd suggest. Hang around and watch in case things go wrong. But leave it for a couple of minutes. And when you're happy with how many bubbles have now disappeared, you can then start thinking about pouring it. So the snowflakes and the ornaments that I do, very simple. Just got some snowflake molds. And once I make these snowflakes out of blue resin, I obviously then just place them in the scratcher and then fill up with clear resin later. So it does take twice as long to make these, because you've got to make these and then let them set, put them in here, then let the clear resin go in and let that set. So it takes double the time. But yeah, they're sweet little molds. I do like making these. Because I want to make some snowflake scratchers, I need to make first of all the snowflakes. So what I've done is I've mixed up a little bit of resin. It's only a small amount, I only need a little bit. And add a couple of drops of blue resin dye to it. And then I'm going to mix it up. There we go, with the blue dye added. So I'm just waiting for bubbles to pop. You can probably see them all popping away. Pop, 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 pop in. If you pour it now, you're just pouring those bubbles into the resin mold. So best just to let them dissipate. Is that the word? Sounds like the word, doesn't it? We'll go with dissipate. Yeah, pop. There's another good word for them. Okay, so that's all mixed up. And all I've got to do is pour it into the molds. And remember, the key word here is slow. If you rush this part, you're going to end up regretting it. So I very slowly let it ooze out the cup. Well, I think I'm going to go a little bit quicker than this. And let gravity and the mold do the work for you. So I tend to do a blob and then move on to another one and let it do what it has to do, or rather what it wants to do, because it will slowly fill up the crevices. If you pour too much, it will go over the top and it will make a horrible mess. So I hope I get away with that one. I'll come back to one in a second. It's very easy to pour too much in one go. Like I've said before, if you think you're going too slow, you're not. Go a bit slower. Okay. So I'm just gonna let it seep into the crevices, and you'll see it slowly doing it, as that one is. And I think I've got away with that one. That one's doing it as well. To help it along, this is where you really need a steady hand. Just give it a blow. And it just helps to push it into the crevices a bit more. Right, now I'm going to put a little bit more resin in. But this time I'm going to try and drop the droppiest of drops. The droppiest of drops. Sorry for the quality of this, by the way. I have to get up so close so it doesn't want to focus. But you get the idea of this, don't you? So I'm going to try and do a drip in the, I don't know what you'd call them, the prongs. It's a very small amount. How's that for skill? Until I've done this a few times. I'm just creating one little drip. Because these are delicate things, you have to be delicate yourself. Right, here we go, bombs away. And one more there. And I think that will do. And we'll come back to this one. I think I can, because it's quite wide, the openings, I think I can just drip a few drops in and let gravity do its work. But you've got to be so slow and careful, because it will get away from you. This is not easy, trying to hold a camera, keep it in focus, keep it in frame, pour the right amount and talk. So I'm going to stop for a second and make sure I get these myself. But you can see what I'm doing, can't you? Very slowly dropping the amounts in, drip by drip in some cases. Well, I'll show you what I mean about pouring it slowly. This is very tricky because it's one-handed, but you'll notice as it comes out, I'm just letting it dribble. Is that better? Okay, because it's such a shallow mold that I just pour a little bit, and then as you can see, it just needs to slowly ooze into the crevices. So don't rush any of these bits. Let the resin do the work. So again, I just pour a blob in, and then I let it slowly ooze its way. Some of these ones, and particularly the little ones that I just did, and I could not do that one-handed. I'll pour a bit of resin in, and then while it's still dripping, I'll bring the drips over and very gently drip in to these bits. So as you can see, I'm being very slow, not rushing any part of this, trying to avoid going too fast. Speed is not your friend on this, although saying that, the resin is going through its chemical reaction as we're talking and starting to set. I'm sure we've got plenty of time before that happens. You can help as well by just blowing gently, and you should see it's gone a little bit further into the crevices. So it's just a case of very slowly filling it up and trying to assist the resin to do what it wants to do naturally, which is fill all the nooks and crannies. And like I said, if you think you're going too slow, you're not. Go slower. So let's add a bit more to this one. I think you get the idea. And I said a gentle little bit of puff. Direct it in the direction you want it to go. That's how we're doing on this one. So I hardly poured any, but that's not a problem, is it? Because now I just pour some more. Ooh. And you'll see it's slowly oozing into the crevices, and it's just a case of very slowly, very gently doing it, like at the top there, going around the circles. That takes a while to tease it up there, but it's worth taking your time, especially on the small ones as well. I did the exact same process on those. Look at the bubbles. We'll get rid of the bubbles with gentle bit of heat as well. But yeah, you'll see how these turn out in a bit. If you've got excess resin, have some spare molds to hand so you can pour them in. It's a shame to waste it because it is expensive stuff. You know those little Pac-Man ghosts. I do love Pac-Man ghosts. That's obviously when Pac-Man is eating a power bill, isn't it? And they're running for their lives. And a cold, cold heart. Done by you. There we go. So yeah, always have some spare molds for your excess resin. I've got quite a lot of excess resin. Look at all those extras I get. So yeah, as you can see, here's the snowflakes. Ooh. Here's the snowflakes after I've taken them out the mold. And all I'm going to do is pop them in the round ones. Although that's a mistake to do that, actually. I just remembered what I have to do first. If you do that, they're just going to sit at the bottom. We obviously... Ooh. Flick that one out. We obviously don't want that. We want it to be like a little bit of clear at the bottom, and then the snowflakes. I'm going to pour a bit of clear resin in first, and then sit it on top of it. Also, it helps to keep it at the bottom of the mold. So yeah, here we go. So I've mixed up some clear resin. As you can see, there's the usual bubbles, and I'm just waiting for them to pop. And then I'll pour a little bit in the bottom of the mold and put the snowflake on top. So as you can see, I've poured a tiny little blob on. God, this is tricky with doing the camera work and putting it in, but I'm going to now place it on top. Doesn't matter if it's not too central, because you'll see what I'm going to do in a second, make sure it's central. And let's just pour the resin in. So let's angle it so it's a bit easy for me. God, I need an assistant. I might have to advertise for one. So make sure the resin goes on top of the snowflake, because I want to make sure that's covered. And already it wants to sit off. Oh no, actually it's pretty much central, isn't it? I'm quite happy with that. I'll keep an eye on it though, make sure it doesn't go off, but like I did with the first one, I'm just going to pour a little blob in. Blobby blobby. No, I ain't starting that. A little bit of blob. Ooh, same with that one. Remember, all I'm doing is going slowly, slowly, slowly. Rush it, it'll go wrong. Trust me on that one. So, again, as you can see, I've got little blobs. Different snowflake. So there it goes. And the biggest one of the lot. I do like this one. But it has a raised center, so you have to make sure you pour a little bit more resin in to cover that. And then it's just a case of filling her up. And obviously I'm using snowflakes here, but it's nothing stopping you using anything else. So make the mold, buy the mold of the object you want in the scratcher. I mean, you could even get like horseshoes, couldn't you, or diamonds, or anything you wanted, and then just pour the mold. So make the mold, and then put the mold in, and pour the resin in to make the scratcher. So in effect, I'm making two resin pieces, aren't I? Oh, there we go. Make sure it covers. And naturally, gravity will assist it. What I like to use as well, which helps me, is I use one of these just pen tops. And then what I can do is I can just adjust it and make sure that the resin actually is on top of every snowflake. So, yep, happy with that. And then with this one, just ever so slightly. And there we go. Now all I've got to do, give them a little blow to get rid of the air bubbles on the top, and then just wait for them to set. We shouldn't take too long. 24 hours. Lovely. Lovely. So let's leave those in peace to do what they got to do to cure. So as you can see, I've been busy making other things, not just the snowflake scratchers. But yeah, once they're set, they look pretty. They look pretty. It's just a case of popping them out the mould. So there you go. There is a snowflake scratcher. Ready to scratch off a scratch card and hopefully get some winners. The Christmas tree decorations, I think they turn out really beautiful. I really like them, and I have been busy with those. So I got more. It's almost impossible to get the same colour every time, but I think that adds to it. So I think I'm going to put those on my tree. I did some purple ones. Look, little purpley glistery ones, and purple little snowflake ones as well. I'm really looking forward to doing all of this as well. Yeah, a little love heart. Isn't that sweet? Yeah, they worked out really good. So I hope that's encouraged you to make your own resin pieces. Again, you can buy these. People sell them. I even sell them as well. So if anybody's interested in buying something that I've made, contact me at lifeofpaul105@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to show you how. Well, I mean, to show you how. I'm just showing you how to make. I'm more than happy to sell them. So yeah, I hope that's encouraged you to have it a go. It can go wrong, but if it does, learn from your mistakes. Again, just as a quick recap, safety first. Goggles, yeah, I wouldn't be adverse to wearing those, but I wear glasses anyway, so I feel I don't need goggles on top of those. Have a window open nearby so keep the fumes out. Make sure your room is warm as well, because it does help with the process. When you stir slowly so you don't get the bubbles in there, because bubbles are your worst enemy. And when you pour into the molds, make sure you pour slowly. If you think you're going too slow, you're not. You're not. Go even slower is my advice. Yeah, and have some fun. Just have some fun. Wear gloves as well. That's another safe thing. But have some fun. If it goes wrong, it doesn't matter. I've made loads of mistakes. I've experimented. I've tried loads of things, and as I've gone along, I've got better and better at it. I'm no expert yet. Some of my dioramas that I do as well are absolutely shocking. But I'm learning every time, and it's improving every time, to the point now where I'm quite happy just knocking them out. And yeah, and who wouldn't want pretty little snowflake as a scratcher? I love these. These are really turning out well. And yeah, if I can do it, you can do it. Now, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well, because I will be producing loads of other stuff. Not as much as I do on my other channel, because doing scratch cards is a lot easier and quicker than doing resin or art stuff. But I will keep uploading stuff. So if you don't want to miss out on any of the stuff that's coming up, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It costs nothing at all, and it means that I can produce loads more videos for you guys to enjoy, and hopefully show you how to make some of the lovely stuff that I've been making. Yes, look at that, so glittery, so glittery. Okay, so everybody, look after yourselves, and I will see you in another video, hopefully really soon. Bye.